The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
There'll be spectacle, there'll be fantasy, there'll be daring do and stuff like you would never see.
Be a movie, yeah, we're gonna be a movie,
Starring everybody
and me. There'll be heroes bold, there'll be comedy, and a lot of fuss that ends for us real happily. Be a movie, we can watch it all develop, starring everybody
and me. We'll take the world and set it on its ear.
Come on, join in. We're gonna start right here.
And we are going to start right here. Hello, and welcome to Not Damn You Hollywood. That is not Robert Winfrey, and I am not Mark Radulich, your mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm not mortified.
Well, I mean, this is not Damn You Hollywood, but I am Robert Winfrey, and that is, in fact, Marky McGee over there.
Hello, this is Triple Feature, and oh, now we can truly start the show. In from the closet.
Let's get centered here. There we go.
There you are. There's your pretty face. Ladies and gentlemen, casual hero himself, Gavin Napier. How do you do, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you tonight?
I'm making it. I'm watching some. You watching? Well, I don't know. Do you have a TV in your closet?
No.
So then you are not watching Thursday Night Football.
No.
It's the Seahawks versus the Cardinals. Do you care?
Nope.
Awesome.
The only people who care, Mark, are the degenerates like you who have wagered on this.
Shut up, Robert.
I have not truly cared about football since the Atlanta Falcons lost the Super Bowl in disgustingly humiliating fashion.
That be the 28-3 game, just
Yep.
out of as a matter of clarification, because ironically enough, that statement could cover a lot of ground.
Oh yeah, it absolutely could.
I've always wondered what it is I like about you, Gavin. I truly thought about it for years. What is it about Gavin Napier who I like? There's so many unlikable qualities, but somehow I am attracted to you. and I just now figured it out. The same thing that draws me to Robert. You remind me of my dad. My dad stopped watching baseball when the Dodgers left Brooklyn.
Well, I still watch. I just do not watch with the same emotional investment. Because I spent weeks after that Super Bowl in a legitimate depression. And then one day I realized I'm probably more upset about this than the actual people that played in and lost the game. And reprioritized where sports live in my life. So I still watch. I still enjoy it. I'm not emotionally invested.
Fair. Well, tonight here on Triple Feature. Okay. Tonight on Triple Feature, we are looking at Sinners, Drop, and Echo Valley. Sinners, the ambitious 2025 hybrid of Southern Gothic horror, musical, and supernatural thriller from Ryan Coogler. Coogler not only directed but wrote, produced, putting this deeply personal project through his Proximity Media banner. It was rumored to have sparked a fierce studio bidding war early on. The film was shot over spring and summer of 2024 on location in Louisiana, and it pushed technical boundaries by being shot on 65mm film, including IMAX 15 perf and Ultra Panavision 70 formats, and it shows. Allowing Coogler and cinematographer Autumn Durald Arkapaw to shift between widescreen and immersive aspect ratios. Coogler also consulted real-life twins to help Michael B. Jordan ground his dual role as Smoke and Stack with distinct emotional and physical nuances. The production even reused costumes originally designed for Blade after that project shifted direction thanks to designer Ruth E. Carter. Sinners is more than a genre film. It's built with weight, history, and intention, demanding you think about racially charged myth, redemption, and community as much as it scares you. Next up is Drop, directed by Christopher Landon and co-written by Gillian Jacobs and Chris Roach. On paper, it's a taut thriller. A widowed mother on her first date in years suddenly receives chilling anonymous messages via Digidrop, threatening the lives of her son and sister unless she follows orders, including committing murder. But behind that premise, the film draws from a real-life anxiety, the idea of the unexpected airdrops in public places. Production began in Ireland in April 2024, and the movies contained setting almost entirely within a restaurant and tied intimately to a digital device, turned constraint into tension. The director even explained that the final act's identity reveal and pivot underwent dramatic changes deep into post-production. The villain behind Let's Play commands the narrative with digital terror and modern twist on classic phone call from nowhere horror tactics. And finally, because I needed a third film, Echo Valley, which brings us out of the city and into the Pennsylvania farmland, where Julianne Moore plays a horse trainer whose life becomes entwined with the state of her daughter, played by Sydney Sweeney from the American Eagle ads. The screenplay, penned by Brad Inglesby, layers in addiction, familial secrets, and the quiet violence that festers in isolated communities. Moore anchors the emotional ground, imbuing her character with both grief and steely resolve, while Sweeney provides the restless, volatile counterpart. The tension in Echo Valley often breathes through landscape and silence. What's not said becomes as dangerous as what is. The film has been praised for allowing Moore and Sweeney to take the emotional reins and carry scenes with minimal exposition, trusting the actors and the visuals to convey the weight. 3 films, 3 different modes of storytelling. Sinners in its genre-bending ambition and technical daring, Drop with its high-concept digital age suspense and careful spatial design. Echo Valley with its character-driven blood and sense of place. All 3 ask us to lean in, not just watch, but feel the mechanics. Strap in. Did he say strap in or strap on? Gavin, why are you here?
Mostly for Sinners. I shared some of my thoughts with you about Drop. And Echo Valley is definitely a movie that was made and released.
Starring actors and everything.
Yes.
It's a pretty amazing feat. They shot footage of actors performing characters and dialogue.
They did.
Of all the Apple TV projects, that is certainly one.
Yes.
There were landscapes.
There were.
There was action and drama.
Well, oh, sure.
These things existed in that film. All right, let's get into Sinners. So, Robert, you and I were just finger on the throat of culture. Did not review this on Damn You Hollywood when it came out because I think it came out the same weekend as WrestleMania. How soon after we realized we had fucked up royally did you watch Sinners?
A little bit after it came on to HBO Max at some point. I was not terribly enthralled with this to begin with. Then I watched it, and intellectually I understand the appeal and why people are like, yay, this is great. Personally, I liked it better when it was From Dusk Till Dawn, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Gavin, you came on specifically to talk about Sinners.
Mm-hmm.
Was there something about the movie? Don't get into the craft review just yet. I swear to God, we'll get there in a second. But was there something about the movie specifically that were like, this I need to talk about publicly?
I think it's probably one of the most accessible mainstream horror movies that we've had in the last, I don't know, several years. Because while we've had things like Midsommar and Hereditary and It Follows, those are kind of borderline, if not truly, art house horror flicks.
Mm-hmm.
And things like The Conjuring, cranking out sequels and making a franchise out of it to diminishing returns in terms of quality. They don't really do anything for me. Sinners,
4 sequels and 2 spin-offs as we record today.
Yeah. Sinners intrigued me because it wasn't beat you over the head with this is a horror movie. But at the same time, it clearly, even in the previews and the television ads for it, it gave you a vibe and an atmosphere that it was not exactly what it appeared to be either. So I was interested to see it. I actually saw it. It's one of the few movies that I've seen in theaters this year. I saw it shortly after it came out. I think I saw it on a Tuesday evening. Enjoyed it. It's the first Michael B. Jordan project that I've actually enjoyed. And kind of similar to what Robert said, I did enjoy it more when it was From Dusk Till Dawn. But if you're going to rip off a vampire flick, that's not a bad one to rip off.
Let me give my thoughts about Sinners first, and then I will let you two kind of have your say and go have your back and forth. I hear what you're saying when it was like, I like this better when it was From Dusk Till Dawn. It was a lot more fun of a movie. But I think if someone was like, I want to do Dusk Till Dawn, but I want to do a meditation on race, on what it is to be black in the early 20th century. I want to talk about the rural South. I want to talk about the music of that era from the black culture perspective. And I really do want to do kind of a touch light meditation on race relations, but I want to mask it behind vampire horror. Also, I want to show the beauty of the rural South. I think Sinners managed to do all of those things. I'm not surprised people like this as much as they do. It is a very well-made movie. I could also see where it would lose a lot of people. It's fucking long. It's way too long. There's something to be said, and I'll be the defender of this aspect of it. Getting to know these characters, getting to be familiar with this place, and getting a little something about the vampire lore. Not a lot, but just enough to get it going. I think you needed to take time with it, but not as much as they took. Because it takes, 90 minutes before we get to anything related to the vampires. And
Not
then
quite that long before the first one shows up, but we're
Depending
probably
go ahead.
because our Irish vampire, because of course he's Irish.
Mm-hmm.
There's anyone in this the second oldest prejudice in this entire country is anti-Irish. The oldest is anti-Catholic. Believe it or not.
My grandmother would disagree with you. She would say the only racism in this country was against Italians.
I said oldest, not only.
Oh, okay.
Again, the oldest one is anti-Irish because there were English who came over, and the English and the Irish, historically. But it was really anti-Catholic sentiment. That's kind of the oldest prejudice in the United States, but take it for what it's worth. Anyway, now the Irish dude shows up, I want to say about an hour into it, but he doesn't, it's very brief. It's like him running through the sunlight.
So I would say, because I was thinking about that when I said 90 minutes, I'm not counting that. I'm counting the vampires encountering black folks. Doesn't happen for 90 minutes into this over 2.5 hour movie.
Okay, yeah, that would be, I think, more accurate. Like, we don't get to the set piece for our big stuff, the actual like dance hall, until about the 90-minute mark.
Like, you would be convinced the story of this movie is setting up that club, and like the vampires were a minor problem. Like that night, the big problem was they weren't going to make money on selling liquor. That and like the sort of the infighting between the brothers. I didn't realize that what's her face, Haley Steinfeld.
Haley Steinfeld, yeah.
Haley Steinfeld. I didn't realize that she's supposed to be a passing black woman in this movie because she's isn't she actually white? When I was reading the description of it, it said that his passing girlfriend. And a couple years ago, Alexis and I actually reviewed Passing on Netflix, so I know what that term means now. But her
character's line about it is, my father was half black, if memory serves.
Yeah. So my point is, so much of this movie is a meditation on these people in that life, and so little of it is about the goddamn vampires, except that, and I'll give you guys a chance to respond to this, a theme of this year has been, because I saw this with Caught Stealing, I saw this with, what did I just watch with my kids? Oh, shit. So it's something else where we were led to believe it was going to be one thing, and it turns out it was something entirely different, where the trailers are making these things look like it's something, and then you actually watch the movie, and it's really not that. like Sinners, you're assuming you're gonna have like, oh my god, this one bad night in in the juke joint with the vampires. They're not you're not locked in here with them. They're locked in with you. And it's like, my God, that's such a small part of the movie. I'll stop talking long enough for you guys to jump in on the conversation, Gavin, and then Robert. I don't dislike the movie. I like it a lot, but what I like about it are a lot of the individual craft elements, except for the horror stuff. Like the actual horror and vampire stuff I give a shit about. That may be partially me. I'll own that. But it's the least interesting stuff in this movie, Gavin. The least interesting.
I mean, you could argue, other than the practical effects way back in the 1990s, that the vampire stuff was the least interesting part of From Dusk Till Dawn. I mean, you had Harvey Keitel as a disenfranchised preacher. You had George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino as psychotic brothers. And surprise, surprise, Quentin Tarantino is a foot pervert. And you had Selma Hayek dancing on tables. All of those things are far more interesting than vampires. Sinners kind of follows the same pattern. You've got a couple of brothers that are up to no good. You've got them trying to make a go of it with their illegal activities, and the story around them is largely more interesting than the whole thing with the vampires. The vampires become a backdrop to the story and the horror element. And again, I agree with you. It was very well done. The cinematography, the set pieces, the wardrobe, all of it, they did very well with it. I also realized that it was not intended for me. I was not the target audience, but the absurdly long musical montage did absolutely nothing for me, and it felt horribly out of place, was incredibly jarring, and I think that probably would have been...
Was it like watching Luke Cage?
I don't know. I didn't watch Luke Cage. I feel like it would have been better left for a director's cut, but that's just me. And I think without beating the dead horse that is the From Dusk Till Dawn comparison too much, I think the reason that From Dusk Till Dawn will be infinitely more watchable and rewatchable is because it's better paced. Robert Rodriguez moved the movie along at a much better clip. He hit his plot points.
We get to the vampires a lot sooner.
Yeah. And even the build up to the vampires, I think, is a lot more interesting and a lot more fun to watch. It's more fun. And I realize that Sinners was not necessarily intended to be fun at any point. That's not really what this director does. But for me, comparing it to From Dusk Till Dawn is not meant to be an insult in any way. As far as this genre of movie, From Dusk Till Dawn will always be one of my absolute favorites. And so I do think there's a lot that Sinners did well. I'm not sure I really understand the best picture buzz that people are trying to generate for it. But I enjoyed it. I'll probably watch it again at some point just to see if I really did enjoy Michael B. Jordan as much as I thought I did this time.
I could see this being nominated for like best cinematography, maybe best screenplay, best original screenplay. I could see maybe best effects, that sort of a thing. But best picture, go fuck yourself. Like, it's not a best picture quality movie.
I don't know, man. It's been a weak year. I mean, let's start with that. It's been a weak year.
Yeah, but a lot of the Oscar stuff doesn't start coming out till now.
There's also every year, give or take, one or two horror movies that tend to get some buzz about, maybe you'll get a bunch of awards. Last year it was The Substance, which should have won a bunch of awards, but, didn't for reasons. Some of which are accurate, some of which make sense, some of which are stupid.
I assure you this year that a trans musical will not be nominated.
Which didn't
not
win
this
either.
year. What did you think of the movie, Robert?
I liked it a little bit less than the rest of you. It's not that it's bad, and there's a couple of things.
Can I ask you a question? Does this fall
Sure.
under the heading, because I know you very well, and I don't mean this pejoratively. I really am not, I'm not, especially tonight, I'm really not picking at you, but I know you. I walked with you once upon a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Is this kind of the Wire thing for you? Where just like, I'm just not interested in the lives of poor black boys. This does not appeal to me.
First of all, I generally do like The Wire, as a general rule.
But you said that publicly, and now that's a multiplier by 0 that I have to check in with.
That's true. That's true. That's very fair. I No, I don't think it's quite that. There's a little of that, but not as much as with other projects, especially other projects from the same director.
Yeah.
Because as a setting, the 1920s helps. Like I get a little bit more lost when you decide to get preachy about, the 90s stuff I was there for, and can therefore like half debunk your propagandization of material around. So the setting helps. I think I had a couple of big struggles with this. One, I'm not a fan of Michael B. Jordan. This was, I think, some of his best work. Let me give him his due there. Again, just on reflection, this is some of the better material I've seen from him. So he got a mild thumbs up from me on that.
Hope he stole my beating heart.
The length of the film is a problem. That lost me a little bit. The premise, not the premise. Our hook for the conflict, I think, is just dumb. I can't get over, why is the vampire here attacking them? Well, this one dude with the guitar is so good at music that he taps into the primal forces of all music from all black people everywhere. And this draws the vampires.
That is a point so lost on me that I didn't know it until you said it. Now, granted, I watched this late at night. The girlfriend was over. It was dark out. There were wolves after me. But I only just now realized that that's a part of the movie because you said it. I was just like, they was just like, well, we hadn't gotten to these black folks just yet. Or there was a big gathering of black folks in this one area, so it's, easy pickings, fish in a barrel.
Well, it's a flaw of the writing that the only setup they could come up with is magical black music.
I mean, black music is magical.
I'm not going to respond to that.
It's best you don't.
So that I had a pretty serious problem with. There's a lot of really good technical stuff to this movie. There's so much on screen visually that is synced with what's going on the soundtrack that you don't even realize until you go through it with a finer tooth comb.
Mm-hmm.
That I need to give a lot of credit to. Again, there's a lot of really good technical stuff here. But my struggles with this movie are, again, there's a few. The unearned length is a bit of a problem. There's a lot of faux tension around the vampires once they show up. Because for some reason, despite them having superior numbers, we spend 20 minutes with, well, wait, do I have to invite you in or are you good or not? We do a lot of that. And I'm okay with slow burn tension.
I kept thinking of the Lost Boys. Don't let the vampires in. Don't let the vampires in.
You're not wrong. But I'm okay with slow building tension. But you got to start that either earlier and go slower, or give it up and just get into it quicker.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of logic to that segment of the movie in the location that it is structurally going the way that it does.
Remember when a movie like this used to pepper in the vampire kills? The movie would cold open with a vampire kill, kind of like Jaws. They wouldn't full on show you everything, but somebody would get, and bitten in the woods. And then we would, go through our day. And then the perspective would shift and we would actually get to the Irish vampire a little bit sooner. Maybe there's more of him running from the engines, and then we'd shift back to Michael B. Jordan and his, and the other characters. And we'd shift back to the engines and the Irish. And there would be a stitching of this so that you're seeing these two trains come together to collide, as opposed to the way this does it, where it's like there's a movie going on here, and there's a movie going on here, and they do this. Like, why? Why would you do it that way?
So I had a problem with that. I had a bit of a problem with our big vampire fight because the Asian woman being taunted into inviting the vampires in lest they go attack her infant at home because her husband has been turned into a vampire by now. I get it. Like I'm okay with that being kind of the threat. We get to her psychologically breaking and after she's conveniently created a Molotov cocktail that we can for our big fire set piece. There's a little bit too much like plot contrivance going on with how some of this stuff lines up. So I have a bit of a problem with that. The actual like combat between the people and the vampires, something about that didn't land for me, and I'm not quite sure what it was. I'd have to go back and like go through it. But human on vampire combat, I'm not quite comfortable with a bunch of the generic schlubs in this movie going toe to toe with the supernatural and being okay and like coming out on the other side okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like by the time we get like Smoke doing his thing, I'm okay with. Not only is he the protagonist, but like he was in the war. He and his brother have been, doing gangland Chicago stuff for a little bit. Like he's seen some stuff. He's a capable guy. Him, I'm willing to go with for a little bit. But also the fact that like 40 of the vampires just like hang out around the rim of the inferno, just like, we're gonna be okay out here. Don't know why, but we're not going to use our superior numbers in any sort of tactical way. We'll just stay out here. It's warm. Fire's out. Look at that. Oh, they've got it. We'll just be over here. And that didn't really land for me. The Vince Russo level swerve of Smoke dying in a shootout with the local white supremacists because racism bad instead of having some actual like deal with the vampires. Like, why? We get one scene with this idiot who they're buying the property from. And then as the sun has come up and he's sitting there traumatized from everything that he's just been through, he tells our traumatized musician with his broken guitar, yeah, so we knew the Klan was going to show up, and I got a bunch of stuff in the trunk for them, and I'm going to die fighting them, not the vampires. Because racism.
Yeah.
Shrug.
It's weird. It's a weird preoccupation in 2025 with racism coming from some of the hot black directors in Hollywood right now. And that might seem like what are you kidding me? Of course they're preoccupied. No, because black people have other problems besides racism. Talk to actual black people. They'll tell you. Like they're not really worried about racism as such anymore. They've got bigger fish to fry. Yet, Nia DaCosta, Ryan Coogler, it was like some of these people can't seem to get past this and feel like it's the only thing worth talking about in film, and boy, is it not.
These are people poisoned with postmodern ideology that, well, if only the racism was gone and we could all go back to, then everything would be great. I mean, in the next 10 years, we're going to get people who've been fed the lie that black people invented everything, which is ridiculous. They invented stuff. They did. No one's trying to deny that, but
let me stop you there.
There's a subset of like faux intellectualism that is everything came out of Africa and was stolen by the evil white man.
Yeah, there's a line in Menace to Society where it was just like, Africans created ice cream. He's like, how the fuck did Africans create ice cream in hot ass Africa, motherfucker? Such a great line. Anyway, Gavin, Robert's been talking for a while. I wanted to give you an opportunity to pipe in with any remarks you might have had before we move on the drop.
I think Robert and I probably feel pretty similarly about this movie. Again, the best and worst thing that I can say about it is the similarities to From Dusk Till Dawn. Coogler as a director has not terribly impressed me. And, maybe we see something of a pattern here with his work, because if you go back to Black Panther, for all of the celebration that it got,
Mm-hmm.
it was essentially a paint by numbers repeat of Thor and of other Marvel movies, Iron Man, the origin story, and the plot points follow almost beat for beat, just like they do. And it's easy to hand wave that away and say, well, it's Marvel. How much ingenuity do you really expect?
Black Panther got the praise that it got for the Afrofuturism and didn't get anything for its plot.
Right. But the fact that the plot was, again, like I said, the paint by numbers repeat of what we had already seen from Marvel got largely brushed aside because of the racial elements of the movie. Never speaking of the horrible CGI that consumed the last half hour of the movie, but some of the worst big budget CGI that'll ever exist, I think. But you see that, and then you see this, where he's once again taken almost plot point for plot point another movie successful in the same genre and recreated it as a period piece with a more urban sensibility. And maybe we're just seeing who Coogler is as a director. And again, similar to Robert, I want to give Michael B. Jordan his props. Didn't enjoy Creed. Certainly didn't enjoy him in Fantastic Four. I haven't really enjoyed him in anything at all and have not found him to be an entertaining actor. But I feel like he stretched himself here and showed some charisma, some talent, and I think he did very well for himself. I don't think this is a bad movie. I don't understand the level of hype that it has received, but I'm not mad that I watched it, which is more than I can say for the other two movies tonight.
I'm going to have the last word here, and I'll say this. One, Michael B. Jordan appeals to a large group of very specific kinds of people. I'll leave it at that. Or he wouldn't be...
Would those people be Jed?
Yes. But all the Jeds. Anyway, I'm not going to discount the man's career. If he wasn't good, they wouldn't keep using him. He wasn't appealing to large groups of people. He wouldn't get leads in films like this, number one. And I'm not necessarily like slapping back at you guys in particular. I'm just standing up for Michael B. Jordan. Two,
takes a lot of effort to be attractive to teenage girls. Just, I suppose.
Fair. Speaking of teenage girls, I don't think people watch good movies. So, like, if you think about the movies that we talk about for Oscars, we like to do it. Other people are doing it. We're part of the film review culture, so we do it. But how many, like, in your average life, you over there in West Virginia, you over there in Utah, and me wherever I may roam, and you talk to the average ham and egger in your family and in your life, how many of them saw The Brutalist? How many of them saw The Substance? How many of them saw Amelia Perez? How many of them saw Nora? I could go on and on. Most people don't watch what are considered to be the best movies of the year. So when you get that once in a while cross section of one of the best made and popular, and I have it up here. This was one of the top 10 movies of the year. It made $367 million. Might have made more than fucking Fantastic Four. So, like, I think because people's film diet is not of the healthiest variety, this movie gets artificially elevated for a lot of people, and they start making Oscar buzz noise because they really don't know what makes an Oscar movie. They don't watch those movies. They're not hanging out in marble quarries, right, Robert? All right. I think we're done. Let's move on to Drop.
Just as a reminder, there used to be a time when you could get big budget, wide appeal, super high quality movies. I weep for the days, Mark, the salad days when we got 3 years in a row of Lord of the Rings movies, all of which were Best Picture contenders, all of which were top earners, and the world was a better place.
Yes, sir. I completely agree with you. So, Drop is a 2025 American mystery thrill film directed by Christopher Landon. If you don't know who Christopher Landon is, well, you should. He most recently also wrote and produced Heart Eyes, which came out earlier this year, which I saw, but we did not review.
You rather enjoyed it. In fact, if
yeah.
memory serves, you liked everything except the finale.
Yeah, I had a good time with it. He produced We Have Time Cut. He wrote and directed We Have a Ghost. He produced My Best Friend's Exorcism. Oh my God, he's the monster that executive produced Paranormal Activity, Next of Kin. Oh boy. He wrote and directed Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You.
Which would be probably his best work. I actually have a soft spot for those two movies.
He wrote Paranormal Activity 2, 3, and 4, and the marked ones.
Okay, so he got one good one of those written.
And he wrote Dirty Sexy Money, which my uncle worked on, among other things. There's other stuff that's to his credit here, but that's who this person is. Yeah. And it was written by Gillian Jacobs and Chris Roach. It stars Megan Fahey, Brandon Skellner, Violet Bean, and Jeffrey Self. In the film, a widowed mother receives threatening messages during her first date in years, which cause her to question her date and fear of safety. It debuted at South by Southwest and was released by Universal through Blumhouse. Generally received positive reviews. On a budget of $11 million, the thing made $28.7. God help me, please don't make another one of these. We don't need Drop 2 or Dropped Again, or if my call keeps dropping. Ugh, all of it. It's all bad. None good. Let me start off by saying the following. You don't need to have like a homicidal, hostage-taking murderer out for revenge to make a woman act that way. I may have said this in the chat. I will say it again. I have been on that date. I have been that guy. I have been with that woman. She's completely distracted, keeps getting up, running around the restaurant. Like, I watched
stuff
this.
To the pianist.
Trying to drug the pianist. Keeps checking on her kid. Let me tell you, I got PTSD watching this movie. This was my life for a while. I've seen that woman. That was the stuff that's supposed to scare you about this movie didn't scare me, Gavin. It didn't scare me. That woman's behavior. Oh God, mercy! That's what was scary, Gavin. That's what was scary. What did you think of Drop, sir?
Well, as I told you, I thought this was worse than War of the Worlds.
It's a bit hyperbolic. I'm going to be honest with you.
It's a bit
Defend
much.
your position.
It's not good.
Here's my reasoning.
Okay.
I feel like they tried to make a good movie with this.
They don't have the excuse of everyone filmed this on their cell phone.
No. See, War of the Worlds, there was no effort there. That was a hastily thrown together money grab to complete a project that they had already had money allocated for, and they didn't care if it was good or not. Presumably, everyone involved in Drop, from writing to producing to acting, tried. And I hate them for it. This is a notch below Megalopolis, just because Megalopolis tried so much harder. But the fact that they tried and this is what they produced, I was just so annoyed through the entire movie.
Okay, explain what annoyed you about this, because
everything.
Again, for me, this was a little too real, unfortunately. But
everything.
But you're like Jesse. You've been married for like 100 years. What annoyed you about it?
The very basic premise of what was going on was the stupidest thing in the world.
Uh-huh.
At what point have you ever been in a collection of random adults and been able to look and see a picture of who owns every phone within a 50-foot radius of you?
Not for nothing, but my son left his phone somewhere and we couldn't find it with Find My Phone. So, yes, that was not believable.
It's the stupidest thing in the world. And the male lead, Skellner or whatever, I just kept thinking, every time I heard him talk and watched him move, I thought, you could have saved yourself a lot of money, hired John Moxley, and had the same quality of acting here. The inflection, the movement, everything just reminded me of John Moxley, which did not help the movie in my estimation.
I thought John Moxley was dead, or is that Dean Ambrose?
Dean Ambrose.
That was Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose is dead. Moxley lives.
Gotcha.
I thought it was
from prison,
poorly acted. I thought it was a terrible script. I thought it was a terrible concept. Cool scene of the guy falling out the window at the end. But everything else was just unbearably stupid.
I thought it was okay. I didn't let me mute you again. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was great. I was very caught up in the interplay on the date, and that for me was because again, I'm not. You guys think I'm joking? Oh, Mark's just being a silly pants. No, I'm not kidding. It was that her performance was a little too real, and that's what kept me hooked in the movie. In fact, every time they had to remind you that she's actually like essentially being held a hostage by this, by this mysterious Let's Play person, I was like, damn it, get back to the date again. I want to see her act like a bitch to this guy. Like, this is what I'm into. Like, everything else about the movie that's supposed to be the movie, I don't care about.
You wanted the Hallmark version of this, where it's just the interpersonal drama, but she's just unstable.
I wanted the hot frosty version of this movie. But I'm with Gavin that is my one complaint about it, is that what they're able to do with these phones is beyond silly. But so is most of the movies that we watch, so I didn't get hung up on it. Outside of that, it's okay. Everything about this movie is a solid 5 out of 10 point scale. Everything is just neutral, just okay. Plain bagel. All right, Robert, you're fighting to get in here.
No, it's a 3.
Okay.
It's a 3.
Hang 10, brother. Anyway, tell me what you think of Drop.
This should be a case study in everyone about how you cannot be Alfred Hitchcock. This is the kind of base premise and setup that Hitchcock maybe could have made work. But when you've got this reminded me of a fairly poor Wes Craven movie called Red Eye that stars Cillian Murphy and I want to say Rachel it's not Rachel. It is Rachel McAdams. Yeah, off the top of my head. Which is an interesting short story / short movie of a hotel manager on a flight being menaced by her seatmate who needs her to move somebody important into a different room in the hotel because he's setting up someone to blow them up. Not a bad idea if you got, 10 minutes. If you can do this in a concise manner. Stretched over 80 minutes, everything about it becomes tedious and unbelievable and silly. And here, we don't have the world's worst premise in some kind of generalized sense, but you've got a short movie here for a thriller at most, stretched to the 80-minute runtime you need. Everyone does a bunch of stupid stuff. There's a bunch of recycled points. We do the same thing over and over again without any sense of momentum. And we unfortunately have the reality of, I wonder who it is else in this restaurant. Maybe the only other recognizable actor. This is not hard to figure out, guys. There's a lot of choices that are made with the technical stuff that, again, Alfred Hitchcock, you are not. And if you're not that good, if you're not that talented, stay away from weird premises that need desperately a mastery of the technical side of this to work. You don't have that. You don't have anything. You kind of don't have anything in this movie. It's a lot of just stuff. And I can't really say all that much good about it beyond that. Oh, look, we're using odd camera angles. Well, why? Well, because I'm supposed to, right? No, you need a reason to. The cinematography reminded me of Battlefield Earth. I know how to do this. Okay, but do you know why you do this? Well, no, so I just do it a lot. Battlefield Earth is infamous for Dutch angles.
Mhm.
Almost everything is canted. And that's fine, but you do that for a reason. You tilt the camera for a reason. And one of the most scathing reviews of that movie I read was, clearly the director has learned from other people how to do this, not why to do this. And there's a lot of that going on in this movie. Our villain is backlit in red, eating his fancy dinner, and is unstable. And you don't even get good like the action isn't quite as cartoonish as the end of Malignant or the final fight in The Substance, where Shawn Michaels would look at that and go, "Okay, calm down a little bit here, guys." But it's close. Like it's just, yeah. I got nothing out of this. It's a moderately interesting premise for a really short story, not a feature-length film at all.
I think this movie is better if there's no actual threat. It's all in her head. Like she's just nuts. And
Yeah.
and it's just the worst date ever with the most unhinged, psycho axis too broad. And she keeps like imagining that they're, like she keeps imagining there's problems going on, like she's checking her Ring camera at home or something, and she's just the babysitter about to stab the kid, and she's like, oh, it's that I'm imagining things because I'm a lunatic, like that kind of thing. Like she runs home and there's like no problem there, like things like that. Like if you want to do a movie about like what it is to be a single mom dating in 2025, that's enough of a horror story, and there's enough. There's enough material for a large group of an audience to resonate with that would be all you need. The fact they had to go, that's not really the message of the movie. The message of the movie is we're all like one phone call, one app, one text away from being held hostage and being made to murder people. And it's like, well, we're not though.
That's not how that works.
What you set up in this movie is fantasy of the highest order. I would believe more in dragons than I would in the technology you set up here, which I believe is what you were trying to get at, Gavin.
Yeah, it just, like I said, bad concept, bad execution. To Robert's point, I think this probably fits better in like VHS, not the media format, but the actual movie series VHS, like an anthology format.
Yeah, like an episode of Black Mirror, maybe.
Yeah, you drop this down to a 20, 25, 30-minute thing, and it probably moves along a better clip, and they don't have to reach so much. I've only really got 3 other things that I can contribute to this discussion. First, Mark, I actually really liked Dirty Sexy Money because of Donald Sutherland and Peter Krause. So that was always a guilty pleasure for me. Second, I will refer back to one of my all-time favorite shows, which will help explain my distaste for this. Oh, Britta did this. And then finally, of all of the things that we could have reviewed and included in this triple feature, I don't know if I'll ever forgive you for this.
Why, Gavin?
It's the second worst movie I've ever seen.
Okay. I feel like that should be, like, every time you come back, it's just the worst experience ever. That would mean a lot to me.
I'll do my best.
Thank you. All right.
Mark's not even trying, but he'll still manage to pull that off.
I have an uncanny ability. It's one of my mutant talents is to make experiences terrible. All right.
Speaking of,
yeah. So. Whew. I needed a third movie, and I looked at the list of movies that had come out this year. And I was like, I really want to try to get more of these streaming movies in, the movies that don't suck, and some that do guys do a lot of them. Other people look at these things. We get to the end of the year, and I start seeing various lists come out, and I see so many movies that we didn't talk about because I don't know who has Apple TV, so I tend not to want to review those movies. Or we don't have time for them because we only do stuff in the theaters. So I really made it a concerted effort this year to look and see what other streaming services were doing, what other movies were coming out. And I saw Echo Valley on here. And I was like, okay, Julianne Moore, she's good. Sydney Sweeney, I didn't realize she was about to be in a fucking controversy, but, you know, she was a hot actress.
Controversy can be spun up by people who need something to grift on out of anything.
Fair. And then I was like, okay, well, you know, we're talking about horror, thriller type genre stuff, and this allegedly fit into that category. So I'm like, all right, I feel like I'm on firm ground here. Whoo doggy, this movie. Let me tell you what this is first. It's a 2025 American thriller, directed by Michael Pierce and written by Brad Inglesby. Michael Pierce does not even have a hyperlink. It stars the aforementioned Julianne Moore, the aforementioned Sydney Sweeney, Domhnall Gleeson, Kyle MacLachlan, and Fiona Shaw. Its plot follows a horse trainer who, while living in a quiet life in Pennsylvania, must aid her daughter who has come to her in an alarming state. It received a limited theatrical release in the U.S. and Canada on June 6th, ahead of its Apple TV Plus debut on June 13th. It currently holds a lower score than Drop. I just want to put that out there. Drop.
I imagine a lot of that is a smaller sample size. If the same number of people reviewed Echo Valley as reviewed Drop, it would probably have slightly higher than Drop, but probably
Drop has 83% on Rotten Tomatoes with 232 critics. Echo Valley is 51% with 92 critics. Yeah.
The number of people who just watched the opening bit of Drop and went, "Oh, I must support the battered wife."
Whatever gets.
I imagine is relatively high if we went through the Rotten Tomatoes thing for Drop.
Sure. So the premise of this is Julianne Moore is a widowed lesbian, and she has a drug addict daughter named Sydney Sweeney. And Sydney
It's not
Sweeney,
the character's name.
Sydney Sweeney.
Sydney Sweeney playing Sydney Sweeney.
And Sydney Sweeney wants money for drugs. And she is a spoiled and indulged child. And Julianne Moore is the kind of mom who has a tenuous relationship with the word no. And Sydney Sweeney, being the other half of every other girl I've ever met, got into a fight with her cheating boyfriend and decided to throw his shit in the river. Well, as it turns out, his shit in the river had drugs in it that belonged to someone else.
1/2 kilo of cocaine, I believe, was the line.
So, long
story. You
story
just carry that in your pants.
So, long story short, she comes home. She ends up going back with the guy. They go into the woods to live deliberately for a while and end up killing a guy. And then they trick her into getting rid of the body in the nearest lake. And then the drug dealer comes looking for her and says, "I don't think you thought you killed me. As it turns out, I'm still alive. However, you did kill this other person, and unless you give me all the monies, I'm going to report you to the police." And Julianne Moore, being a busy businesswoman who don't need no man, tricks this poor idiot into giving himself up to the police, and it all ends happily ever after. That's it. That's the movie. The best part of this movie, Gavin, is the basketball diary stuff between Sydney Sweeney and Julianne Moore of ma, give me some money. And Julianne Moore, having been shamed in a previous scene by Kyle MacLachlan, going, "This feels wrong. I feel like I've done this one too many times, and, you know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 517 million other times. Maybe I'm a spoiling mom. So no." And Sydney Sweeney says, "You have never told me no before, and I am injured. I am emotionally injured, and I will set your house on fire and kill your dog." And Julianne Moore says, "Feels like a bit much." And all of that, as much as I'm making fun of it, all that stuff's good. I like a good drug drama. And, you know, Sydney Sweeney being the shitty child and Julianne Moore being the mom, who's struggling with a shitty drug addict child, is all good stuff. when the movie takes the left turn at Albuquerque into this is really about a very strong woman living alone on a horse barn who's going to trick this evil man because down with the patriarchy. I went, why must every movie be this? Why, Gavin? Why must every movie be this?
Because everything has to have a message. It can't just be entertainment for entertainment's sake. I don't care for Sydney Sweeney.
Acting, or you don't think she's attractive because then
Acting. I mean, objectively, she is a ridiculously attractive human being.
Oh, good. Glad we're all on the same page here.
But acting, I don't care for her. I didn't care for her in White Lotus, and initially I thought, well, I wasn't supposed to like her in White Lotus. She was supposed to be a petulant, annoying child that was very unlikable in White Lotus.
Right.
And she did that very well. And maybe I'm just choosing the wrong projects, but once again, I find Sydney Sweeney.
Really? Have you watched Madam Web? She's spectacular in it.
I haven't, and I won't.
You're better off.
Again, she's not playing anyone of this that is supposed to be likable in this movie, but I don't dislike her for the reasons they want me to dislike her. I just find her annoying and tiresome. Much as Jim Cornette found Kevin Dunn, Kevin Dunn found Jim Cornette, I find you tiresome. Julianne Moore and Sydney Sweeney, they really did save this movie from being a complete and total disaster.
Oh, yeah.
Julianne Moore is a reliable actress. Anything you put her in, she stands a very good chance of being the best part of. And like so many other actors and actresses that you can say the same of, I wish she chose better projects.
The fact that she has reliably been the best part of both serious dramatic roles and some of the weirdest comedies you've ever seen. The woman has ridiculous range.
Yeah.
Julianne Moore, I'm in defense of her being in this movie. Julianne Moore has the right to take whatever paycheck she's being given. And she's no spring chicken. So if a movie comes along and she gets to play a dramatic role of a besieged mom opposite a drug-addled child, and then the other half she's Wonder Woman, sure. It's fine.
And no argument with that. I'm all for good actors and actresses getting paid when they can. Mm-hmm. I feel like her talents could have been better used in a better film, but it's not my career. It's certainly not my paycheck. The movie was okay. It was a Lifetime movie with no ratings, no FCC standards to be beholden to. It was fine, and I didn't hate it. I'll never watch it again. I don't have a reason to, but it was okay. It was unflavored tofu.
Yeah, I watched a movie a little ways back. It was with Tom Holland, and he also was dealing with drugs and having all kinds of, I think it was like Cherry Bomb or something like that. And it was, it's weird the kinds of movies that are ending up on Apple TV. Like they're really, Apple so very much wants to win a Best Picture that they are going to take flyers on any, and like the guy in charge of buying films and distributing them on Apple TV, I don't know, is like below average IQ. Because he's just like, "Hey, it's serious and it's going to win an Oscar." Like here's
Ridley Scott in 3 hours for Napoleon.
The guy in charge of
Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby, who Mark keeps insisting is a good actress.
Ugh. Some of the decisions that they're making with some of these movies, I'm just like, do you actually know what you're doing, or are you using a Ouija board, whiskey, and a fucking dartboard? The fuck?
He's using a blindfolded, intoxicated chimpanzee to just throw darts at a wall.
Yeah,
and then he doesn't choose what the dart lands on. He chooses what the feces lands on when the chimp runs out of darts.
But that's what this is. This is somebody thinking they know what's going to win an Oscar for Best Picture and hoping it's this. And it's like, it's not even close. Like,
it's never this.
It's never this. Just because something is dramatic, and Sydney Sweeney's doing her best Leonardo DiCaprio. Ma, kill your dog. I'm gonna kill the dog, Ma. Give me money. I need meth, Ma. Ma! Like, all right, Sydney. We all appreciate a good Leonardo DiCaprio, but settle down, sweetie. Put some jeans on.
Tell that to your daughter in about 10 years.
So unnecessary. All right, fuckface. What did you think of this movie?
Sorry, I look, man. Leo keeps it legal. God bless him.
Mm.
But he does have a pretty serious cutoff date on those relationships. It's the age of about 25.
It's okay. I don't think my daughter's interested in people.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's a lizard man at this point too. So who knows?
Can you tell me what this movie is before I come to Utah and fucking commit a sinners on you?
You couldn't handle the altitude. You would get off the plane, collapse, and then just have to be dragged back into an oxygen tent. Just like, here we go. Anyway.
Do you want a job on Damn You Hollywood, Gavin? Because I'm looking for a new co-host.
This is a Lifetime movie that angles to be more than that, which is not the worst thing in the world. Like conceptually, there's some Lifetime movies that if you give the full Hollywood treatment and understanding, you can get something decent out of. This, as you guys mentioned, the story about the mother and daughter, and the daughter being like drug addled and trying to handle all that, that's actually pretty decent stuff. It's not a coincidence that, Julianne Moore's a really good actress, and Sydney Sweeney is an acceptable actress, talent-wise. Not great, but acceptable. And you pair them together, they do decent, enjoyable work for the most part. So, okay. Then there's these long stretches when it's her and Jackie. And he's like, you owe me money. No, I don't. Well, yeah, but you helped dispose of this body. So this is how blackmail works. You're doing a blackmail? But I got nothing. Look at this house I'm trying to fix up. I'm going to spend $9,000 on a roof, which is actually a bargain these days. Like, what are you talking about? You expect me to get you your money? Well, I'm going to stay in your basement. Oh, sorry, I'm going to stay in your barn until we come up with something. Well, fine. You know what? I mean, you can burn down the house and then you can get the insurance money, because that's how insurance works, right? They don't check for arson. No, there's not insurance adjusters and investigators. It's not an entire industry. And then we do this cockamamie end around. The CIA knew the FBI was setting up the DEA, and somehow the ATF was not the most incompetent organization in the universe. Like, that's the kind of thing we get at the end, where it's just, okay, I'll burn the place down for the insurance money and I'll give you your cut. Now, because it's your place that's burning down, you're going to be there. They're going to, have to investigate you. So don't be weird when the fire department shows up and the cops show up, and then, oh no, you set me up the whole time. Like, it doesn't help that Domhnall Gleeson, while not a bad actor, you need someone with genuine menace for this role if you're going to try and pull this off. And preferably that's not someone who looks like I could break them in half. Like when Julianne Moore does the Wonder Woman shtick, it actually kind of is believable against this Patsy. Like, there's some problems there. I imagine this was sold to Julianne Moore and Sydney Sweeney on the dramatics of the family dynamic. And then they just kind of went along with all the other silly stuff because they got a paycheck and the opportunity to do, weak basketball diaries, but with horses. So what if the horse whisperer, but no Robert Redford and no meth, and with more meth? And everyone just goes, but why?
This is one of those movies that a couple of years ago, before people's patience with this sort of thing had completely run out, might have been okay. Look, the woman got over on the guy. We're not doing that a whole lot these days. In 2025, we're like, again with this? Only it's not a Marvel or a Star Wars, so no one's like, writing 150 different fucking YouTube videos and TikToks, and, Variety isn't writing an article about it a week, about why won't the men accept dominance by the women? Why?
Never mind that you can then, this inevitably leads to the side-by-shot screenshots of the same author going, such and such is not for you. Second article, Why aren't such and such going to this thing? Surprised Pikachu face. Like, I don't know what to tell you guys. It's yeah, I got nothing. God bless Julianne Moore and Sydney Sweeney. They do their level best. And with less talented people, this would have been interminable. As it stands, it's simply boring for the most part. If pressed to say something nice about this one,
It's a nice
I
landscape.
do think there's good cinematography here. They do a good job of giving you the right place. There's a real sense of, again, location to everything. And you know what? Again, in more deft hands and with an actually competent actor as your antagonist, you could get a good sense of claustrophobia building as this kind of went on.
One of the things when I was reading in the Wikipedia, and I had it in my intro, was the part of the point of this movie is, look, even in small town America, even on like Pennsylvania horse farms and such, people are still struggling with the same thing everybody's struggling with in big cities and sprawling suburbs, and that is the erosion of the American family. How much drug culture is seeped into the bloodline of America, and that's a great story. You should have stuck with that. Dovetailing this into yet another, it's like they don't know. It's take half of Drop and combine it with half of Echo Valley and leave out the shits we don't like, and you have like a great, Steel Magnolias. Look, it's the modern telling of modern women and all their trials and tribulations. My daughter's a drug addict. I'm a single lady. My kids are at home.
The
world
daughter's
is
the one
unfair.
the daughter's the one menacing the small child at home.
I know you got money. Yeah, what you got in the piggy bank? See, I need meth money.
Tell me how to open the safe, or I'm gonna start hitting the kid with this coat hanger. You see,
Gavin, I'll give you the last word here on my attempt to try to save these movies by merging them into Voltron.
It couldn't be worse. I mean, one is the second worst movie I've ever seen, and the other one just gets a unenthusiastic shrug from me. I think that Echo Valley could have been better, but it wasn't, and so we got what we got. Maybe Apple learns and chooses better projects, chooses better directors for their projects.
Maybe don't have a coke-addled monkey buying your dramas.
Well, maybe that too. But
they can't fire him though. He's got tenure.
He owns a lot of stock in this company. We can't get rid of him.
He's almost on the board.
I think another villain that carried a little more weight, like Robert said, would have helped this tremendously. Figure out what you've got to pay Neil McDonough to get away from Angel Studios for 10 or 15 minutes and let him play the greasy drug dealer that threatens everyone. He can pull off that villain role just fine.
In his sleep.
Yeah. And so, I was happy to see Kyle MacLachlan get a paycheck for his 10 minutes of work. Good for Kyle.
But he's the most reasonable person in this whole movie.
Yep, sure is.
It must have been a change for Kyle MacLachlan, actually.
His line about, did you stop, doing horse trading? Yeah, how are you making any money? Why are you asking me for money then? Wait, why am I pouring money into a business that doesn't do business?
Yeah. And I will say, one of the things that I did genuinely dislike, really maybe the only thing that I genuinely disliked, because, again, so much of the movie was just there. I didn't like it or dislike it. But it falls into the same thing that we see so often with lazy directors and lazy projects in Hollywood these days, is where at the end, just in case you didn't pick up on what's happening, we're going to give you exposition through rapid cut 10-second flashbacks. And I hate it. I hate it so much. And I realize that you have to make movies for stupid people because stupid people watch movies. But maybe it's okay if some people don't understand your movie. If they can't grasp that level of storytelling without having it spoon-fed to them, then just let them don't get it. Their review isn't going to affect you one way or the other anyway. But that's really my only major complaint with the movie, other than it could have been better.
Well, it could have been better as a phrase the pace here on the Rattle Legend Broadcasting Network, and it's really a great description of all of our podcasts. Gavin, thank you for joining us tonight. What do you? I don't know when you're coming back or what you're doing these days.
I think the next time I'm scheduled is sports night after the first of the year.
Yes.
At
a minimum.
But if you need me before then, let me know and I'll fill in if I can. Other than that, I'm not really doing anything. You can see me maybe Saturday on TNT for AEW Collision. I'll be sitting second row as they broadcast from Huntington, West Virginia.
Oh, nice.
So if you want to see me sitting in the audience, I guess you can.
Watch out for the flamethrower.
I'll duck.
You're a lot bigger than Darby. I mean, he might hit you by accident.
We have those around here. We know how to handle flamethrowers and various accoutrements here in the hills of West Virginia. But yeah, I'll pop back in when Mark needs me. Otherwise, I'll see you in January for sports night.
Thanks for coming on, Gavin. It's always a fun conversation with you. This past week, Sunday night, we did a Metal Hammer of Doom jukebox. We reviewed Paradise Lost, Exodus. It was good. We did a Damn You Hollywood for him. Robert didn't like it. I loved it. Damn You Hollywood ends with a Y. Last night, myself and Harry Broadhurst, we reviewed WrestlePalooza, and our indie spotlight was Beyond Wrestling Americana. Tomorrow, in fact, in a few hours after midnight, is my EP that I made, Fra Diavolo, Too Late to Rewrite. I took two Hoobastank songs and cried about it, and I took those musings and I turned it into a TikTok, and then I took that TikTok and I turned it into a rock opera, because creativity and talent and tools, that's what. So that comes out tomorrow. Fra Diavolo, Too Late to Rewrite, my musings on heartbreak and lamentations. But also, Saturday is a special episode of Damn You Hollywood. Myself and Erica will be talking about Swiped, because I did not want to talk about a movie about the lady who created Bumble with Robert Winfrey. And Robert Winfrey says, thank you. Thank you for that.
I did.
This week coming up, Sunday, myself and Jesse are looking at the two Simple Favor movies, the one that was in theaters and then the one that went straight to Amazon. I watched The Simple Favor last night. Ooh, doggy, that was really good. That was like a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So I'm looking forward to talking to him about that. Monday, back on Damn You Hollywood, we're looking at an actual Oscar contender, one battle after another, starting with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Hey, we already took shots at him. Isn't that great?
This Wednesday coming up, myself and Alexis will be talking Upload Season 4. And then a week from tonight, myself and Sean Comer and Kat Scott will be looking at a Michael Mann, not Joseph Kaczynski, triple feature, Ferrari, Heat, and Collateral. And that will take us into October. Robert, show us where you pissed from.
Well, I cover mixed martial arts and professional wrestling over at 411mania.com. I'll have WWE SmackDown tomorrow. It is the fallout from WrestlePalooza, which I also covered, because everybody else was smart enough to get out of the way of that hand grenade. Even ESPN kind of took a dump on it. So, and they're paying those people a lot of money.
Yeah, it was kind of an in your house when they really needed a WrestleMania.
Yep, that's the general sentiment. This Saturday, I'll be covering the UFC's event in Perth. They have, they're not selling well for that event, so they've cut ticket prices about in half, and are still desperately hoping to get people on the card, or people to show up to watch these things. Not that they care that much. They're getting a big enough site fee that I think that covers most of it. So I'll be covering that. I talk about the wide, wacky, wonderful world of mixed martial arts on the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast. So tune into that if you're so inclined. And yeah, what was it, Monday?
And one battle after another.
One battle after another, right. So we'll see if Mark and I have anything to say about that.
I'm sure we will. We talk a lot about a lot of things.
We'll talk about something. The airtime will get filled.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining us here on Triple Feature for Cthulhu and Robert, and Sleepy Joe. Be well, be safe, and behave.